Today, we're cracking the code on a hidden economic force that controls the price of literally everything you buy, from your morning coffee to a life-saving medicine. Let's jump in. Take a look at this number, 5,500%. What does that even mean? Well, imagine a pill costs you about 13 bucks. Now imagine you wake up the next day and that exact same pill costs you $750. That's a 5,500% jump. And this isn't some hypothetical classroom example. This actually happened. And you gotta ask yourself, how is that even possible? How can the price of something so critical, a drug called Daraprim, just skyrocket like that without the company immediately going under? It seems to fly in the face of all logic.
But there is a logic to it, a powerful one, and the answer is a core economic concept that acts like a hidden code for our entire world. It's called elasticity. And trust me, by the end of this, you're going to see it everywhere. So first things first, let's break this down. The easiest way to get a handle on elasticity is to think of it like a simple rubber band.
Now, the official definition sounds a little dry and academic, I know, but the only word you really need to focus on is responsive. Elasticity of demand just measures how much our buying habits freak out when something, like the price, changes. It's all about how much do we react.
And that rubber band analogy makes this whole thing crystal clear. On one side, you have elastic demand. This is your super stretchy rubber band. Even a tiny little pull, a small price increase, causes a huge stretch in how much people buy, or, how much they stop buying. On the other side, you've got inelastic demand. This rubber band is stiff. You can pull on it with all your might, a massive price change, but the amount people buy, it barely moves at all.
Okay, so that's the what. But what about the why? What actually makes the demand for one product a stretchy rubber band and another one totally stiff?
Well, luckily, there's a really easy way to remember the 5 things that matter most. Just think of the word hints. First, H is for habits. Is it something you're addicted to? I is for income. How big of a dent does it put in your wallet? N is for necessity. Is it a must-have or just a nice-to-have? T is for time. Do you need it right this second? And S, arguably the most important one of all, is for substitutes. Are there other choices you can switch to? Keep hints in mind, because we're going to come back to it.
All right, now let's see how actual businesses take this simple idea of a rubber band and use it to make huge decisions about what you pay for things.
So, economists, they love to put a number on everything. They call this price elasticity of demand, or PED. Super simple rule. If that number is bigger than 1, demand is elastic. Think about coffee brands at the grocery store. If one jacks up its price, you'll just grab the one next to it, right? Easy. If the number is less than 1, demand is inelastic. Think of gasoline. The price can go way up, but you still got to get to work. And if it's exactly 1, that's called unitary elastic, kind of like a theoretical sweet spot where everything is perfectly balanced. In this right here, this is the million-dollar insight for companies. It's kind of counterintuitive, but for elastic goods, the stretchy ones, you can actually make more money by cutting the price. So many more people will buy it that it makes up for the lower price. But for inelastic goods, those stiff rubber bands, the opposite is true. You can raise the price and your total revenue will still go up because people are stuck. They have to keep buying. And you see this in the wild all the time. Ever wonder why students get cheaper movie tickets? That's price discrimination. Businesses know students have less income, making their demand more elastic. They're more sensitive to price. And what about airlines hiking up prices for holiday flights? That's dynamic pricing. They know your demand is incredibly inelastic. You have to fly home for Thanksgiving, so they can charge a whole lot more.
Okay, so that's how businesses use this stuff. But elasticity also explains a ton about your own personal spending habits. And it all comes down to one thing: your income. This brings us to a new flavor of elasticity: income elasticity of demand, or YED for short. It's the exact same idea of responsiveness, but instead of price, we're now measuring how your shopping list changes when your paycheck gets bigger or smaller.
Based on this one concept, economists can pretty much sort everything you buy into 3 big buckets. Just think about what you do with an unexpected pay raise. How you'd spend that extra cash tells us if a product is a luxury, a necessity, or something called an inferior good.
First up, luxury goods. When your income goes up, you spend a much bigger chunk of your money on these things. We're talking sports cars, designer bags, fancy restaurants. This is exactly why these industries do so well when the economy is booming and get hit so hard during a recession.
Then you have your necessities. Look, if you get a massive raise, you're probably not going to start buying 10 times more toothpaste, right? Your demand for stuff like this is rock solid. It doesn't really matter what your income is or what the economy's doing.
And finally, we get to this really fascinating category, inferior goods. Believe it or not, these are the things you actually buy less of as you make more money. Think about it. When you can finally afford better stuff, you might stop buying instant noodles and switch to fresh pasta. And this is why, weirdly enough, sales of these products often go up during a recession.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground. Price, income, stretchy, stiff. But now it's time to put all the pieces together and finally solve the mystery we started with and see how this one idea is secretly pulling the strings all around us.
So let's go back to that jaw-dropping 5,500% price hike for the drug Daraprim. It stops being some big confusing mystery when you see it through the lens of elasticity. In fact, it's not a mystery at all. It was a cold, hard, calculated business decision.
Let's run it through our HNS framework. N for necessity? Yes, it's literally life-saving. S for substitutes? Nope, there were no good alternatives. T for time? Patients needed it immediately. And I for income? For most patients, insurance was footing the bill, so the hit to their personal income was small. You put all that together, the demand for this drug is about as inelastic as it gets. A very, very, very stiff rubber band. The company knew they could yank that price way up, and people would have absolutely no choice but to pay it.
And here's the thing, it's not just big companies that have this figured out. Governments are absolute masters at using elasticity to their advantage, especially when it comes to taxes. You can see their two-part strategy right here. Why are taxes on things like cigarettes and alcohol, so-called sin taxes, so high? Because their demand is inelastic, right? It's a habit. The government knows people will keep buying them no matter the tax, which makes it a super reliable way to raise money. But what if a government wants to actually change your behavior? Then they tax something with elastic demand, like sugary drinks. Because there are so many substitutes, water, juice, diet soda, even a small tax can cause a big drop in sales, which is exactly the point.
So there it is, elasticity. It's the hidden code that determines prices, shapes company strategy, and even guides government policy. It explains why a life-saving drug's price can explode overnight. The big question I want to leave you with is this. Now that you can see the code, what's the most inelastic product in your life? What's that one thing that has that stiff, rubber band power over you and your wallet?